Well, oil prices are diving on the Middle East ceasefire deal announcement today. Brent and West Texas are both down more than 4% so far this morning. You can see here a barrel of crude is sitting at around $83 a barrel. Now, this is the lowest that it's been since early March, when the oil crisis really linked to this war kicked off. Now, the Strait of Hormuz, which delivers so much crude oil to the world, it's now been effectively blockaded during the war for 3 months. And with this deal, there is no firm announcement on when the strait could reopen. Now, to talk us through how this could play out, I'm joined now by fuel market expert Lurion de Mello.
Hi, Emilia. How are you?
Thank you for your time this morning, Lurion. So, pretty significant reaction to oil markets to this peace deal so far. Do you think that oil traders are actually right to celebrate at this point?
Yeah, I think if there was a firm confirmation on the deal actually going through, oil prices were going to drop significantly. And this is something, the market was expecting. I mean, we've had a lot of false starts before on the strait opening, not opening. So this time I think it's a bit more sort of, certain. So oil prices will come down. But at the end of the day, there's still a lot of damaged infrastructure in the Strait of Hormuz and in the surrounding countries. And there's going to be a lot of, a bit of time before this, oil starts flowing to those refineries.
Yeah, so Donald Trump says let the oil flow, but we know, Lurion, that reopening the strait is a complicated exercise. How long is it going to take for crude to get out of this very small area and get into refineries in places like Asia and then ultimately into supply on global markets?
Yeah, I would expect, first, to ensure that the strait doesn't have any mines, down at the bottom. So that would have to be, fairly secure. I mean, insurance companies will want the ships that they've kind of assigned their insurance to flow through before everything's being checked. So the odd ones from the Oman, sort of south of Oman, and from other parts that kind of bypass the Strait of Hormuz just a little bit, that oil will be starting to flow. A bit of oil has been coming through to the Strait of Hormuz, so I'm expecting more to flow through and head towards the Asian refineries.
Yeah, I've heard talk before from experts like yourself, Lurion, that it takes about 6 to 8 weeks for that process to play out after it actually leaves the strait. Is that about correct? Yeah,
that's about right. Like if you have oil coming from America, it takes around 50 days. But oil going from the Strait of Hormuz, say heading into, say, Singapore or South Korea, that takes around that time, correct?
Yeah, and then it needs to be refined and then it needs to get into countries like Australia, right? That's the very long process we have going on here.
Yes. Yeah, so this is a dilemma.
And at the start of the oil crisis, Lurion, we had some pretty dire predictions for supply. We had some predictions that oil prices would go up towards $150 a barrel. But right now, it is worth noting that unleaded petrol, it's actually lower than it was before the war at about $166 per litre for unleaded. And diesel here in Australia, it's far lower than its peak in March as well. It's down to around $2.14 a litre currently. So why haven't prices at the Bowser stayed as elevated as some experts were suggesting the last couple of months?
Yeah, we've had plenty of petrol come into the country, particularly, from Asia. And plenty of diesel has come in April from America. So that diesel is still being utilized in May and some of it in June. Although the supply of diesel from America has kind of disappeared completely in the month of May. But we've had plenty of diesel coming in from South Korea, for example. So petrol supply is not the problem. I think diesel still has its issues, but I don't see, again, a supply being an issue. But the cost of diesel is going to remain elevated.
And we know that the issue that's been caused by this blockaded Strait of Hormuz the last couple of months, it's not just about petrol for cars, it's also plastic is made from crude oil. We've had a plastics crisis for manufacturers. We've had concerns about fertiliser and, worth noting, some really grave concerns for poorer countries and their food security and crop planting. How long do you see these issues continuing for as this process works itself out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in the same boat as those oil tankers. You know, a lot of ingredients, like a lot of these acids and so forth that go into fertilizer, they are still stuck there. I think still around 36 ships are still stuck in the Strait of Hormuz carrying some sort of fertilizer, urea. With regarding, you know, other materials like plastics and so forth, I mean, that's definitely, you know, the key ingredients, you know, like the petrochemicals that go into making these plastics. Those are kind of flowing through from other parts of the world. America is exporting a fair bit of these petrochemicals as well. So I'm expecting, you know, prices to remain elevated. But I think the bigger issue here is, as I said, is around diesel and jet fuel. I mean, you know, jet fuel, I know the government tells us we have enough supply of jet fuel in this country, but airlines are still cutting routes and cutting, certain destinations. So these destinations, if they need to come back online, the jet fuel prices have to come down. And the only way the prices will come down is if we have more supply of jet fuel in the market.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure we'll be talking more on this issue as the situation plays out.
Thank you.